All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, you're going to learn how to play a fingerstyle blues. And these are always super popular because they just sound great on their own. You don't need any jam track or accompaniment. And it gives you like a little composition that you can play and perform for other people. So you have a goal, but you're also going to be learning where all these notes are coming from. So as I show you how to play them, I'm going to put it all in context. So you're not just memorizing notes, you're actually learning why they work and what the chords are and how it all kind of fits together so that you can use these licks when you're improvising or when you're composing. That's the idea behind it. And if you're not a fingerstyle player, if you only play with a pick, you can still follow along with this. It works with a pick as well. It's just going to sound a little different. You can't do the bass part at the same time like you can when you're doing fingerstyle, but you can strum it like this. So as I put tab up on the screen, you should be able to follow along with a pick. And if nothing else, you'll just get some licks and ideas from it that way. So follow along either way, that's the point. All right, so in this video, we're going to go through the first half of this composition. If you'd like to watch the second half, where we have a whole new set of ideas, get the tab PDF file and also the on-screen tab viewer, which has the video and tab on the screen at the same time. There's no talking in it, but it's interactive. You can loop sections, you can change the playback speed and all of that. It's a great interactive way to learn, get right to the composition. You can get the extra materials for this lesson by going to activemelody.com and doing a search for EP633. Let me just mention this guitar before we jump into the lesson. This is, somebody always asks about them. I've used this in other lessons, but it's been several years, I think, since I've used this one. This is over 100 years old now. I thought that was pretty cool. It just dawned on me the age of this. This is a 1925 Martin 0028, and I've had this one for a while. It's in pretty awesome shape considering how old it is, and as far as I know, it's never had any kind of repairs or anything. It's scuffed up a little, but 100 years of it, I'm surprised it's still together, but it is. So somebody's had it for a long time before I did and took great care of it. Hopefully I can do that too. Okay, so this blues we're going to be looking at is in the key of E. And it starts off on the 5 chord, which is our B. And check this little lick out here. We're gonna walk down chord-wise. These are just the chords in the chord family of the key of E. We're gonna go from the 5 chord down to the 4, and then the 3, and then the 2, and then down to the 1. And I got this idea from Bob Dylan. I was trying to think, because when I was, composing this or coming up with the idea for how to start it, I was just going to start with the 5 chord and go into the 1. But I remembered this little lick from, it was on Blood on the Tracks, Buckets of Rain is the song. And there's a part in that where, and I think that's in this same key, but Bob walks it down just like that. And I thought that'd be kind of a cool thing to work into this. And that's why, when you learn these licks, you can learn them from other people and you can just borrow pieces and kind of work them into your playing. Now, I don't want to play it exactly the way Bob did, but that concept of going from the 5 chord down to the 1 chord, I thought that was pretty cool. And Bob, by the way, is an awesome guitar player. He's very underrated, in my opinion. So when I played that B, I played it like this. Okay, so it starts with the thumb on the 7th fret, and that's that bar there. My finger's barring all 6 strings on that 7th fret. So I'm hitting that low B note, and then the 2nd string behind that bar in the 7th fret. And then my ring finger is on the 9th fret 3rd string, which creates a B sus4 chord, I guess. And then, so I lift my middle finger. Actually, I lift all fingers except for the bar. And as I hammer on that middle finger, at the same time I hit the bass note. That's kind of a tricky, it's like doing this, pat your head, rub your stomach, but you just have to take it slow. So you go, and then you hit the top B note there on the 7th fret. So all together, that first little phrase, and then watch this. So that's that little Bob Dylan Buckets of Rain lick. So I'm just using my index, middle, and ring finger on strings 3, 2, and 1. And I'm hitting the bass note each time, too. So I'm playing the B, the A, take that down 2 frets. And now I just do a bar, just one finger. Play those same strings all the way down to my E. And you can use that idea in other things. Even if you just use, for you pick players, just use the top top 3 strings. That's a cool little idea. And once we get down to that E, then I play a classic little blues turnaround. You're gonna love this one. Isn't that cool? So what I'm doing shape-wise, this is like a D7 chord. Think of your D7 in first position, move it up 2 frets. So we're here, and you're playing an E7 when you're playing it here. And I'm gonna use my thumb, index, and middle finger on strings 3, 2, and 1. And I'm gonna play it like this. I'm going to take that D7 shape, slide it down a fret, and lift my ring finger so that the open E string rings out. So it's like this. Slide it down again, put my ring finger back to make a D7 chord. So all together we have, and then down to my E. So after the turnaround, then I played this. That's my B7 again. I went back to the B7. Now I'm gonna do it down here. Just a first position B7. And notice the bass note hitting on that 5th string. So all I'm doing really, as far as a melody is concerned, is I'm playing strings 2 and 3 out of that chord shape. And you just mix that with the bass notes like this. So just practice this. Let me do it slow. Notice that thumb is right on the beat. Okay, so now we get into the verse of the song, and I play this. So let's look at that. So I'm coming up here and doing a hammer on. This is on the 2nd string between my 3rd fret and 5th fret. But while I hit that, I'm also hitting the open 1 string up here like that. So I'm using these 2 fingers, my middle and my ring, like this. Now, the trick to this, and what makes fingerstyle so difficult, is trying to do that with the bass note, which is being played by my thumb. The bass, when I'm playing an E over the E chord, is just that open 6th string. It's an E note, right? So you play it just on the beat, like this. So maybe start by just practicing that phrase. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then watch this. Now I put my middle finger on the 4th fret 3rd string. So I hit that note, and then I hit strings 2 and 6 at the same time. So let's put those 2 pieces together. We have, keep it going, keep the thumb going. Just get this far. And then I came down here to the 2nd fret on that 3rd string, and then down to the 1st fret. But while I hit this note and this note, I keep the bass going with my thumb. So watch. Just do it again. Now that's a cool little phrase right there that you can work into other things. And if you want to know where I'm at, or what I'm thinking about as I'm playing this, this is minor pentatonic scale pattern 2. So, and then I slide down to my E chord, right? Which is not minor pentatonic scale because I'm hitting that major 3rd. You could hear the difference if I'd went, that would be like a minor, but I wanted it to be that major 3rd sound. Okay, so that was kind of like a call, all of that. And then I went like as a response on the bass. Really kind of trying to do like a bass player fill. So put those 2 pieces together. And that's just a slide. That bass note, that open 6th string, we go between, I'm using my ring finger, I'm starting on the 2nd fret, slide up to the 4th fret, and then we come up to the 5th string and play 2, 4. And you need to know this in relation to this chord shape. So when we're playing down here, we're playing an E chord, but off of this E chord, where I've got these two fingers, in fact, I've got a little box here between my 2nd fret and 4th fret on the 6th string, 5th string, and 4th string. And that box is a major pentatonic box. This will be a big light bulb for some of you, because once you can connect that box that I just showed you to this chord shape, you can use that for all kinds of little fill ideas. Watch this. Here's just an E chord. So any of those little happy major pentatonic fills that you hear bass players doing, that's kind of where it's coming from. And the reason I'm connecting it to this chord shape is so that you can do this in any key. This is not just an E thing. If we were playing a blues in the key of G, there's the G chord using that shape. There's those two fingers. That means my little box. For G, my major pentatonic box is right there. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some things you can do just with that. Okay, let's back it up from the beginning. We have... Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna repeat this. Right? That's the same, but watch this. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stay on strings 1 and 2 for this little harmonized melody. That's the same, but then we come up to this. Isn't that a cool sound? So I've got my index finger on the 7th fret 1st string, my middle finger's on the 8th fret 2nd string. And when I play that, what gives it that twangy kind of country sound is by pushing that 8th fret 2nd string sharp a little bit. You're pushing the minor third towards the major third. That's something that happens all the time in the blues. And pretty much any time you're playing a blues and you hit a minor third, you're always kind of pushing it a little bit towards the major. That's just a common blues nuance. So after that, I'm gonna come up here. I've got my ring finger on the 12th fret, 2nd string, and my index finger on the 10th fret, 1st string. So these two notes, let me give you a few ways to think about what these are coming out of. One could be your E minor chord, that triad. So that's a little stair step shape. And that would be like the top 3 strings out of your E minor chord using that A minor shape. So that's where those are coming from. You can also think of them as being inside of your, there's my E major chord using the A shape. And you know, the top part of that looks like this. So where my index finger is, I could go in there flat the 3rd to get that kind of twangy sound. So however you know, whatever works best for you to find that. But that's, I think, I kind of connect it back to that minor chord shape. And then when I came up here and played this, that's the top part of pattern 5 of my minor pentatonic scale, which is up here. And these sound great when you've got the bass going underneath them. Listen to this. And then we started down here. So we started here. So watch what happens. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna play this, but watch the bass note. Notice it's just on the beat like this. Okay, so after I slid into this, I'm gonna come down to this shape, index finger on the 9th fret 1st string, middle finger on the 10th fret 2nd string. And then I'm gonna go and slide into my major third. So instead of doing the minor third, that second time I went major third. It's the top part of my E chord using the A shape, just strings 1 and 2 of it. But you started a half step down. So it's kind of a strange sound because it's sort of undefined as it being major or minor through this part. But right there it goes strictly major. Just like we did down here, we played that major third to color it as major. Now I didn't put any thought into it like that as I was coming up with the composition. I was just kind of noodling around and playing what sounded good. It's only after the fact that I have to explain it on video that I've sort of figure out what's going on. But I was just playing licks. These are all just little licks licks that I've learned through the years. So let that be your takeaway, is when you're playing in the key of E, whether you're doing it fingerstyle or with a pick, you've got all those licks that go down the fretboard, those little harmony licks on strings 1 and 2. Okay, so we have. Now watch this. We go to the 4 chord, and I'm just playing an A. The 4 chord when you're playing the blues in the key of E is A. And so this is what I was playing. And some of you will know this, and some of you might not know this. Some of you won't know this. This took me years to kind of see this in this way, but what I'm playing here with my fingers, it's the same shape as a D chord in first position. It's pretty cool. If you play it here, and you put your middle finger on that 2nd string, so it's a 5th fret 2nd string, and you let these fingers fall into place, and then you play the thumb with that open A string, you're playing an A7 chord. And you may be going, some of you may be going, well, how in the heck's that an A7? Well, look at an A7 bar chord. If I lift my middle finger, if I play just a E-shaped bar chord, lift my pinky, I've got those same strings. They're in there, right? To me, the cool part of that was just the chord shape, because it's easy to grab that if you're thinking D shape. And I can slide into it like that. And so what I played there, and I use my pinky on that 7th fret 2nd string as like a little embellishment off that A7 chord. So the way that you want to practice playing this, you're going to start with your middle finger and your ring finger on strings 2 and 3. Just start with that, and then as you slide that chord shape into place, you're going to use your thumb on the open 5th string, and then use your index finger to hit the 4th string like that. So it's like this. And then pinky goes down on that embellishment note, 7th fret 2nd string, and again I'm hitting that with strings 2 and 3 with my middle and ring finger. So backing up we have, and then back to my index finger. So let me do that slowly so you can just watch my hand. You've got the tab on there as well, but that's the little lick there, but my thumb is keeping the rhythm through this whole thing. It never breaks from bump, bump for the E, and then for the A. It's doing this. So, right? So it's the thumb that is the driver. That's your rhythm section. Okay, so after this, 4th string with my index finger, and then my pinky comes up to the 7th fret 1st string, like this. And then watch this. Okay, so that little lick there all happened on the 1st string. Hit that note, and then open, and then a slide from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret. And then I came down to the 2nd string on the 2nd fret, so it's, and then back up. Now, the key is to be playing your A note and the bass along with that. So it's like, it's not as hard as you think once you get the rhythm going. Let me do it slowly. Here we go. Like this. Just practice this. Then to go to the back to the 1 chord. So we just walked it chromatically from the 2nd fret. This is on the 1st string, 3rd fret, and then I slide up to the 4th fret. And while I hit that note at the same time, I use my thumb to hit the open 6th string, that open E string. So we have, so, and that note is my major 3rd of my E chord. And after I hit that, I played some notes out of my E major pentatonic scale. Let me just show you the notes first. There's sliding to the major third of my E. I'm hitting it with my thumb there, that open 6th string. There's my open 2nd string. And then the 2nd fret. Open 1st string. And then open 2nd string, and then 2nd fret, 2nd string. I know there's a lot there. So, and these notes are just E major pentatonic scale. That would be like pattern 3 of my major pentatonic scale. Or down here would be pattern 2 of my major pentatonic. So, that's the lick. Okay, so this is probably the hardest part in this whole thing, is just getting this and getting the timing of it. Let me go through it slowly. To the E. And then I went like this. Little Robert Johnson sounding thing. So after that E lick that we just learned, then I played an E7 chord. It's just an E chord, but with your pinky on the 3rd fret 2nd string. And what I'm doing with my fingers with my right hand, I've got my index, middle, and ring finger on strings 4, 3, and 2. And then I've got my thumb on the open 6th string, playing the E. And now watch my pinky. So just watch that pinky. So it slides from that 3rd fret to the 2nd fret and then back to the 3rd fret. And that gives you that kind of Robert Johnson kind of, right? And that's, so you can just kind of remember that if you like the sound of that, you can do that with any 7th chord. You can always take a 7th chord and just slide the pinky down and back. And so you can take that E7 chord shape and play it anywhere on the fretboard using that logic, right? So after that E, then the song goes to the 5 chord, which is our B, our B7. And I play this. Now, I'm starting here with the 2nd fret 1st string, and then I'm going to the 3rd fret 2nd string. Now, notice when I hit that 3rd fret 2nd string, I pushed it a little bit sharp. That should sound and even feel familiar as you do it. Where else have we done that? If we think back, oh yeah, as we were playing up here, remember that little lick? And I showed you that as being the top part of this little stair step shape, you know, from an E minor. Well, as we're playing this B7, even though B7 is a major chord, I can play that. And so this would be like a B minor. So this is using the same logic as what we did for that E minor. There's the stair step shape for my B7, right? That's my B minor. So if I look at strings 1 and 2, you can see that now. And so just connect that in your head. Oh yeah, okay, there's that lick. There's a B chord using the A shape. Whatever you can connect it to so that you can easily find this lick idea again going forward. So notice when I hit that note, it starts kind of minor, but then I push it major, and that's what makes it work, is that bending. If I left it just flat without pushing it, it sounds too minor. But when you push it major, so in this one section here, I have lost the bass note. I'm not able to play this lick and play the bass note at the same time. Now, if I was Tommy Emmanuel, I'm sure I could do that. I could figure out a way to do it. But me, just being the simpleton that I am, I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna drop the bass line for this little part. That happens in songs anyway, right? Sometimes the band just cuts out and a little lick happens and then the band kicks back in. So in this part, once I get down to here, then I can add it back. But in this one that little part of it, there is no bass line. So I'm just playing a lick or a lead part. So we've got that. And then I'm coming down to this 4 4th fret 3rd string, and now we're going to walk it down. We're going to start here on the 3rd string and go 4, 2, and then go down to the 4th string and play 4, and we're going to slide with our ring finger down, like that. So it's just a little box there, 4, 2, 4, 2, and then watch this, a hammer on. So it's an open 4th string with a hammer on, and that's going from the flat 3 to the major 3rd of my B chord. So, and then I play the 2nd fret 5th string, which is a B note, open B string on the 2nd string, and then the 4th string, which is inside of that. So my left hand has made the B7 shape. This is where I make that B7 shape. When I take my hand off to play that open D string, then I can put my fingers in place to play the B chord. So it's just sort of a matter of getting your hand in the right position. So let me do that lick slowly. And all of that is really built off of this A chord shape in my head. That's sort of like, there's your B chord using the A shape. Here's your B7 using that C7 shape. Here's that lick is kind of the top part of your B shape or B minor, however you want to look at it. But I want you to think about all of that in relation to the chord shapes. Let's say we wanted to do all of that for a C chord, right? Instead. So I would find my A shape, and then here's the stair step. So here's what that lick would sound like for a C. Right? You can do it anywhere on the fretboard. You could do different variations on it. So I want you to always learn a lick like this, learn it in context, and so that you can kind of break it apart and go, oh yeah, even if you don't like the whole lick, if you just get this bit of it. I mean, that's used in the blues all the time. So after the 5 chord, which is our B, notice I went back to the bass note there. Here, right here. And then the song goes to the 4 chord, which is our A, and I just did this. So I'm just thinking about my nearest A, so I've got my open 5th string, which is my A note, and I'm thinking about an A7 chord like this, 2 fingers, and I can slide into it. That's strings 2 and 4 on the 2nd fret. And I played it like this, starting with the 5th string, that bass note. There's my index finger on the 4th string. And then watch this. So, notice by adding my the flat 7 up here, my 3rd fret 1st string, I'm hitting that with my pinky. You can use whatever fingers you want for this. And then my open 1 string, and then the thumb follows that on the bass. Let me do that again. And then another classic blues turnaround, which goes like this. And all I'm doing is really 2 fingers. One is up here on the 5th fret 5th string, and I use my middle finger for that. And then the other is on the 4th fret 3rd string. So you're playing both of those notes. Now I've got my thumb on the 5th string, and I'm using my middle finger on that 3rd string. And we're just going to slide that shape down. And then I'm going to do a hammer on when I get to the bottom down here. Open 3rd string to the 1st fret. So, and you can also play off your open 1 string, that E note. So you can go like this. So that's a great little idea too. I mean, if you get nothing else, walk away with that idea if you didn't know it. I think that's how I played it. I hit that E string just once, then walked it down. You could do it once, you could do it every time. You could go. You could even use the B string as well. So you could go, or let me do it. Sometimes I hear that done, so I'm playing strings 2 and 1. And then the last thing was back to my B7. Right down here, just make sure you've got your thumb keeping that rhythm. And it's just strings 2 and 3 out of that B7 chord with the bass note. And that's where we're going to end this part 1 video. I know there's a lot of information in that. Remember, as a premium member, you have access to the tablature and also the part 2 video where we go over the second half. The second half, we're going to go up in a higher octave and play the same chords, but just a whole different set of ideas. And so as a premium member, you'd have access to that on-screen tab viewer, and you can also download the tab PDF file. So that's a great way to kind of review everything. There's no talking in that on-screen tab viewer as well, so it just makes it easy to get right to the song. I hope you've enjoyed this and picked up some new ideas. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. I always appreciate that. I read through all of them. It's super helpful to me. Even if something is unclear, that's helpful to me too, because it just gives me guidance as to what's kind of working and what isn't. All right, we'll see you in the next video. We'll see you in the part 2 video, actually.